7.1, consider approving the selection of Christensen Building Group as the construction manager at risk to construct the airport terminal building for the city of Granbury and authorize city manager to negotiate and execute an agreement and subsequent agreements with the selected CMAR, which is the construction manager at risk. Mr. Kaufman.
Yes, sir. So this is a project that's been going on quite some time. We've got our aviation director, Pat Stewart, going to give you an update and a final report.
We went out for bid. We got 4 different companies that bid it. The panel narrowed those down to 2 finalists. Those companies came in and did interviews with us and provided presentations, and the panel made the selection for Christensen. That's what we're asking for your approval on tonight. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit about what this project is. It's an FBO or terminal. It's a little bit of both at our airport. For those of you that don't know, FBO stands for Fixed Base Operator. It's the piece of every airport that sells fuel primarily. But the airport FBO and terminal building does much more than that. We provide services for all those customers that are coming and going, whether it's a pilot lounge or courtesy cars or just helping them with their bags when they get off of airplanes or getting back on. We do a little bit of everything as an FBO, and that's pretty standard for an FBO at most airports. Just to give you a little update on the airport program itself, we are in phase 3. We've got the cement stabilization about 80% complete on the new runway. That leaves the taxiway connectors and what will be a new apron to do. That project is continuing on track with no issues. So I think the main thing that I want to cover tonight is just back up in history a little bit and cover the project as a whole. As most of you know, I know council's changed a lot since this project was approved. In fact, there may only be one person, maybe, still on council from that original approval.
All new, yeah, all new, right? No,
Only
all
one,
new.
Bruce.
All new.
So, we approved this project back in September, got the designs finished from EHT, and got KSA on board to do the construction part of the project. Started phase 1. Phase 1 was the electrical relocation program where we tore down all the high tension lines, shut down the existing substation because it's going to end up in the approach, and built a new substation down 377 a couple of miles. That project finished on schedule and under budget, and we continued on to phase 2, which was probably the largest part of the project. That's all of the earthwork. For those of you that don't know, we moved 550,000 cubic yards of material and didn't bring in a rock. That was on-site material. So if you go out to the ends of that runway today and you're 30 feet up in the air looking down, we used to be down there. It's an amazing piece of work from Mario Sinicola, who did the earthwork. That project finished 4 months ahead of schedule and well under budget. That allowed TxDOT Aviation to come back and help us add the completion of the taxiway, not just the earthwork, but paving it, because when we first approved that, we weren't sure that we'd save enough money to be able to do it. That turned out to go well. We are now going to pave that taxiway in phase 3, and in addition to that, TxDOT approved a new ramp or apron, depending on who you are. You might call it something different, but that apron is needed to handle the kind of traffic that this runway is intended to bring in, and it's also being done in phase 3. So I guess at the end of the day, the point that I'm trying to make is that the airport is on schedule and within budget. And I just wanted to thank you all as a council. I know we've been up here many times talking to you about this project, but thank you for your support in all this. It's made this project go well, and I thank you. Let me see. One of the other points that I wanted to make tonight, timing is everything. We are going to finish Phase 3 this fall and start hopefully the new terminal building and Archer Court access roads, but timing is everything, and we're going to finish this project underneath, or what appears to be underneath the economic problem we're having around the country and the world today, and we expect this project as a result to finish on budget. So I think we've been very fortunate there. So we're here tonight just asking for your approval for Christensen Builders to be our CMAR. I can talk about what a CMAR is if you like. If there are questions about that, I'd be happy to answer them. So any questions?
Council, Mr. Rodriguez?
So Pat, at what time are we going to see the designs, elevation of this new airport terminal that we're going to be getting?
It's not up here.
Thank you.
You're very responsive.
Good question. So
Thank you.
we are let's call it 99% at design final right now. So what you see around the monitors are the elevation of the building. It has an entrance. It has a parking lot entrance. We'll show you that here in a second as well. But it has a porte-cochere type entrance where our customers can drive underneath in inclement weather, unload their cars with their bags, and meet whatever their airplane requirement is. On the other end of the building, it has, we'll back up. The building's 4,000 square foot, but on the front end is a covered porch that matches the building. If you've seen the police station, it looks very much like a small version of that building, a very small version of that building, because it is much smaller. But it's the same type architecture and veneers on the building as the police station and even City Hall. So you can go to the next slide. So there's the site plan. What that is showing is the parking lot is at the bottom of the screen. Up in the middle is the terminal building itself. Off to the left is a location for a future hangar. It's in our master plan that you all saw a few months ago that shows that out 2 or 3 years later. Over to the right-hand side is an area where the Jet A fuel farm will also end up. It's also in the master plan about 3 years out to move that. And then there is a small metal building that will house our fuel trucks on the ramp. The area to the top of the screen is all ramp, and it's about 4 times larger than what you're looking at. If you've been to the airport and you've seen the current ramp, the new ramp is almost 4 times larger. And that ramp was added to the Phase 3 bid because we were under budget and TxDOT allowed us to put it in there as an ad alternate, and it finished within our planned budget. So that was another really nice addition to the plan that would have cost us a lot of money in the next couple of years to build had that not been approved by TxDOT. And then there's the floor plan, Eddie. It's kind of hard to read, but I can give you copies of this with no problem.
Hey, Pat, could you talk about the economic impact that TxDOT has illustrated in their modeling that this airport
Sure.
brings to our community?
So every 10 years, TxDOT Aviation hires a university, and they hire an engineering firm, and it's a different set of companies each time that helps TxDOT do an economic development survey of all the federally funded NIPIAS-type airports in the state of Texas. The last one that was done for the city, that had the city in it, I believe is 8 or 9 years old now. That economic report showed that the airport's impact to the city of Granbury in Hood County is around $17 million annually. With the new runway, that study, they told us last week that they'd be starting that study soon. I would expect, and again, I have no crystal ball, but I would expect it to be 2 or 3 times that much when the new runway's operational.
Hey, Pat, with the vendors that or the tenants that you currently have in your old building, have they already expressed interest on transferring to this new one, or are they going to, or what's the plan for the old one as well?
They are definitely moving to the new one. They have helped with some, given us feedback on the designs. When we were going through the design of this building, I gave them copies of the floor plans and said, let me have your thoughts. So they've been involved with it, and they are going up to the new location. What we're going to do with the building itself is still an open question. I think many of us would love to see an airport restaurant go into that building. As a pilot, and I know some of you are pilots as well, but as a pilot who's been to a great high percentage of the airport restaurants in the state of Texas and around the country, the one thing you'll learn real quick is if you're depending on pilots to make it work, it will fail. You've got to have a restaurant that's in a close proximity to people in the town. You know, we're across the street from the high schools. Is also a good thing for this. You've also got to have a parking lot where people can come from town to go to that restaurant. Because if you're going to rely on airplanes coming in on the ramp, you know, half a dozen of those guys a day will never pass, that'll never pay the bills. So we have all that. We're very fortunate that our airport is positioned for, you know, if there was that entrepreneurial type person out there that wanted to get in the restaurant business or add to their business. I think a few years ago, I made contact with a company called The Beacon, who has a number of airport restaurants, and I built a PowerPoint presentation and sent it to them and said, this is 3 or 4 years away, but it's coming. So hopefully somebody is interested in doing something like that. If not, it's a lean-to structure coming off of the hangar. All the interior walls, for the most part, can be blown out there. Most of them are not structurable. And you could come in there and set up offices or whatever you want to, you know, there's lots of different options for that building.
Other questions, comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
you know, I had the opportunity to work at the airport for 8 years before getting on council. And I'll just say that, you know, we're very fortunate to have Pat. Pat's done an amazing job, great leadership, great financial stewardship. And I think everybody here on the dais tonight heard on time and on budget. And in my mind, that's pretty remarkable today, given the rising cost of everything going on in our country with materials and so forth and rising inflation. So my hat's off to Pat, really for just an outstanding job at our airport. Thank you, Pat.
Thank you, Steve, but I will say what I've already told many people. This job has been made easy by you. Council's support of this over the years has made all the difference. You know, it kept us moving and making good decisions every day. We knew what you wanted. We knew you were invested in it, and it was skin in the game, as they say. So, thank you.
Before I jump out there and wholeheartedly agree with what Councilman Vale has said, could you just update us on our financial situation there at the airport? Operating incomes?
I'm going to fall back on the question you brought up before this meeting started today and assume that's what you want me to talk about.
Yes, please.
So about 3 or 4 years ago, Chris came to us and said, you know, we've got to make this airport run more efficiently. We've got to do things to reduce the cost and eliminate the large general fund contribution that our airport was getting. In fact, most airports in the state of Texas get today. And so we made lots of changes. We made staffing changes. We made building changes. We did a lot of different things. We eliminated one major position in staff. And the result of that the last 3 years has been an airport that's for the most part operating on its own, to exclude a lot of the little things that have popped up in the new runway project that we've had to come back and talk to council about. If you remove those from the picture, then the airport's pretty much paying for itself today. That's not true in most airports around the state.
Well, thank you. I wholeheartedly agree with Mr. Vail on everything he said about your tenure and your leadership there. We thank you. Council? Do you have anything else,
Nope,
Mr.
I'm
Stewart?
good. You're good.
Okay. So I hear a motion to approve the selection of Christensen Building Group as the construction manager at risk to construct the airport terminal building for the city of Granbury, and authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute an agreement and subsequent agreements with the selected CMAR.
So moved.
I have a motion. I hear a second.
Second.
And I have a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? It passes 6-0. Thank you, Mr. Stewart.